is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they have conference play in the conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I feel when I look at this Arizona team, I don't take them serious as a national title threat, because you're asking Caleb Love to bottle magic that I just don't even think exists.
4.4, 6.6, 7.4, 7.7, 7.8. This guy is literally taking, he'll shoot you out of games, Kevin.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on Sport.
Alrighty, welcome in. It's in-game live game day and a fabulous non-football Friday. How about that? Scott Wetzel, Dave Sharapan for the next 2 glorious hours right up until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. NBA, college basketball. How about a little exhibition baseball? I think, although I've actually most of that was this afternoon. SGP, Black Cloud, opposite picks coming up tonight, as always on every single Friday. What's going on, Dave? How are you tonight? Over last night's disappointing loss. What a crusher that was, huh?
It wasn't that bad because I had under 5.5, under 6.5, under a lot of things, so it worked out okay. Betting wise, I was happy with it. I was happy with it as a hockey guy. I mean, I really thought Canada was the side anyway going in. Wanted to root for the U.S. Was rooting for the U.S. Country wise. But listen, man, that was a great game. It was everything we could have asked. You stayed out of the kitchen long enough to watch the game. Didn't miss a thing. That was a win. All of it was good. I have no qualms with anything that happened all week. I mean, other than the injuries. The injuries, like going forward, are going to affect teams. McAvoy being out for Boston that's not doing the Bruins any favors. They got to try to make the playoffs. How these guys are going to go from that high. McDavid getting a goal that wins it for the country. The reward is fly down to Philly and play the Flyers in the afternoon on Saturday. So, I don't know how you're going to do that. You're going to be a professional. You show up, you play every game. It means something. I don't know if it means that much, but Edmonton minus 190 at Philly tomorrow. So we're back at it. Yeah, today I wore the Yankee stuff because the Knicks are playing. And I don't really have a lot of Knicks stuff, so I thought I would just wear the New York stuff. But I wanted to ask you, can you grow a beard? Because if you can, now we can play for the Yankees. I mean, this would be okay. After all these years and knowing that we can play for the Yankees. But can you grow a beard? I don't think you're a beard guy.
No, I never could. Never could, and I definitely can't now. Mustache, yes, but beard – I always try. I had a goatee for a little while, but actually like a side beard. It just comes in. Now it just comes in gray. Now it looks awful, right? But before, no, I don't have any beard capabilities. So listen, I'll take the trade off. I can't grow here, but I can here. This one keeps on coming in. I still got to go to haircut every 2 months. In fact, I'm probably going to go tomorrow. So I'll take the trade of growing on
All
top versus growing on the bottom.
That's a good trade. That's a good trade. All right. I got it. I keep it high and tight. It grows, but it doesn't look good anymore. So I keep it tight up top. I could grow a beard. So we might be able to get a trade off that way. You're right. I wish I could grow a beard like Vinny. Can you imagine it like Vinny beard? Like he keeps that thing. Vinny grows, guys you played either with in high school or back in college, like they grow a beard overnight. There's guys that literally, they go on a 10-game road trip in baseball. They look like they've been like Tom Hanks on the island, in that movie with Spalding. It was just like this. Yeah, you look like you've been gone that long. So, yeah, that's good. I mean, that was the big baseball news. There's preseason baseball. It started. It's real. We turn the page to spring training. I can't wait. There's season wins. There's all kind of things. We did a bunch of stuff for the S&W Corporation last year with the baseball. You keep finding these bets of different things to look at. Season wins, NBA, if they're still in the file, we might touch on those tonight. Did you come up with any crazy stuff for this weekend? What do you got? What do you got on the docket tonight?
Not yet. The only thing I will tell you is any thought of putting the Toronto Maple Leafs into any SGP or one of our three championship parlay, forget about it, because what you saw out of Austin Matthews last night, that was the consensus on the podcast. He's a bum. He'll never win. It's why Toronto hasn't won. He's got 2 shots right there in the crease, wide open, no one in front of him and Jordan Binghamton, and he can't score. That's why the Toronto Maple Leafs can't win the postseason. If that's your best guy, there you go. And he, unfortunately, wasn't the United States' best guy. When your best guy on Team USA, is Brady Tkachuk, no offense to him, but that tells you a little something. The big boys didn't step up, him in particular, and that's Austin Matthews. Great regular season guy, but in the clutch, forget about it. Can't get it done.
No. You have to give credit to the other team, though. That game was so close.
Credit.
Come on.
It wouldn't have been close if he would have scored in overtime. Would have been over. We would have been talking about how great it was, and they came through, and it was a close game, fun game. Just put the puck in the net, man. You're standing in the crease. You're 10 feet away with no one in front of you. Twice.
The other team is
don't want him on my team.
Well, I don't know if you're ready to be an NHL GM anyway. I don't know if we can have you on the bench or up in the office. I know I wouldn't want, I don't know if I'd want you on my wing now if you're going to be that worried about, like, if I give you a pass and you don't score, am I going to yell at you? What are we going to do here? Sometimes the other team makes the save. Sometimes you just miss a shot. Sometimes you shoot it into the goalie. Stuff happens. But McDavid did it. Would you take anything, as much as you want to cross off Toronto from the list? Do you want to add Edmonton, or does him getting the goal and coming up big in the moment carry over to the Oilers in the second half for you?
Yeah. I don't know. You said it. I don't know how these teams are going to respond. Now, they got about 25 games, so they got a little, leeway here to kind of get the juices flowing. But, these guys were all saying, Dave, last night, this is like a game 7. I mean, there was a whole lot riding on this thing. To be able to pick it back up again, even if it is 2 months later when the postseason starts, month and a half, I don't know if these guys will. Maybe it will, but it could have the other effect. Just, all right, we won our championship. That's it. It's great. I don't know. It's going to be very weird. But I wouldn't necessarily bet on or against Edmonton because of this.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Would it? The question, if you're a St. Louis Blues guy, is this going to propel Jordan Binghamton to carry into the postseason?
Well,
or at least win the regular season.
All questions about him and whether he was going to be the goalie or not were answered. I mean, he did everything and then some. I mean, he made those, you were texting during the overtime in the group chat and going, unbelievable, Bennington, unbelievable. And it just was save after save. And, he did the Wetzel splits multiple times. I mean, he was down, stretched out, glove save, kind of curled it back to like old school goalies do. saved the game multiple times in overtime. And then it just flipped. Matthews lost McDavid in the slot. He gets that pass, top shelf. Hellebuck played great. Nobody's saying he didn't do it. Again, the narrative might be different had he done it.
But he didn't.
Right.
So it's kind of weird, right? Is the St. Louis Blues fan going to welcome Binnington back as a hero? And is Winnipeg going to welcome Hellebuck back as a hero because he lost? I mean, the whole dynamic is so strange. But ultimately, if you're he didn't. It's not his fault by any stretch. He was terrific. But this is, give me the results. I don't care how well you did. Did you win? No. You were in goal? Yeah. Led at the winning goal? Yeah. All right. There's Connor Hellebuck.
Man.
Finds a way to lose. Some players find ways to win.
He was great all tournament.
Find ways to lose. Scratch Winnipeg as well off our list.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Dave, hour number one, just getting underway. Taking a look at little baskets, whether it's college basketball or NBA. Dave, got some interesting games. You got the Wizards and Bucks. We'll start at the top of the betting board there. Milwaukee, no Greek Freak, no Damian Lillard. They're actually trailing Washington 56-50 at the half. Bucks, 5.5 or so favorite going in, now actually getting 2.5. Against the 8-win, 9-win, whatever they are, 7-win Washington Wizards team, over under 217.5. Knicks and Cavs are probably the big one, right? Cadavers beating up on the Knicks 77-50 at the half. Wow, 77 points in 1.5 for Cleveland. Now it's 21.5. And over under 243.5. Crazy.
Not a good first half for the Knicks. And again, these are the two teams that are competing to take Boston's spot in the East. I don't know if the difference is this big. I don't think it is between these two. But, man, if you're trying to get a feel for who has the best shot of beating the Celtics, the Knicks lost to them right before the break by almost 20 or 20 plus. And now they're down 27 at halftime. I don't know. This isn't making me trying to make a case to get involved with the Knicks in the Eastern Conference. So they may end up being the 3 seed, and 8-3 to the over in the last 11 for the Knicks. There it is. 23-10 over for the Cavs. Cavs are playing, and they're playing a lot of offense. So in game, I don't know. You want to go over 243? I don't think I want to go over that number with the blowout situation the way it is. This is not a play right now. I don't think this is a play.
Right. Unless you want to take a flyer on the Knicks, down 27, getting 23.5 now. Jump from 21.5 a second ago to 23.5. That's interesting. You look at the Knicks schedule, right? We all try and find teams, whether it was Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL or, whoever in baseball with the Dodgers. You always try and find teams like who's going to upset the apple cart, who could beat the Boston Celtics in the best of 7, right? And you said it there, Dave. You want to include the Knicks because when they're winning, man, they got Cat and they got Brunson and they got this guy and this. It seems like they have some of the pieces to get it done. But then, honestly, when you look at their schedule this year, they lose to the Celtics twice, one time by 20 plus, the other time by 20 plus. And you said it to close out the first half of the season or almost close out the first half, right? So, a chance to kind of redeem yourself after getting embarrassed by the Celtics. They get embarrassed again. They lost to Cleveland earlier this year. They're in the process of losing to Cleveland again this season. I mean, they lost to Oklahoma City, not once but twice, the home-and-home series. The second time by 25, the first time by double digits. So, point being, every, ultimate really, really good team in the NBA, the Knicks aren't even competitive. Forget about winning. Nope. They're not even competitive. They've lost every single one of these games by double digits.
I think you have to consider that. You have to find different ways to try to justify a position if you're going to, try to get ahead of the price. And that one's an indicator to not do it with the Knicks. So, if it was our book, we'd probably have a really good price on the Knicks right now and try to get some money on the Knicks. I don't want to get involved with that. Now, the team right below them on that Eastern Conference list is the Bucks. The Bucks are trailing tonight in Washington. Washington, by the way, has 9 wins on the season. So put some respect on their 9 wins. You said 7. All right.
Yes.
They have lost 11 in a row at home. And we got the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis is playing. Dame is not.
Giannis is playing,
but
yes.
So plus money. I was on just now with Ranieri before on Game Time Decisions. They were 5.5-point dogs and over 2-1 on the money line. And I said maybe the buy signal right then. Now it's 1.5. If they start the second half and, on a 6-0 run or, close this thing, it's going to jump to them being the favorite. So if you want to get ahead of it in game right now on the games at halftime, play the Bucks. They're probably going to win the game at Washington coming up here in the second half.
You would think so, right? I mean, and yes. Kuzma's playing for Milwaukee now, right? So his first chance to get back at his former team. He's probably so thrilled, though. I don't think he holds any grudges, right? But he's so thrilled to get out of there, I imagine. But I'm surprised. One, I was surprised the line was as low as it was to start with. And now it's, it's a close game. They are trailing, but you're actually getting points versus maybe pick them or so. I mean, you can get Milwaukee to win this game. Plus 114. And they're down 6 at halftime. I mean, that's a good
You're
bet.
talking about surprising lines. Let's look at the game coming up here at 5:30 Pacific. There it is right there. Good job, Vincenzo. The Pistons -4 at San Antonio. Last night, if you remember, despite us doing all the hockey, we talked about that Phoenix and San Antonio game, and no Wemby was the big news yesterday, and the Spurs won the game. pretty easily. Now the line is bigger with, I don't know if arguably the same, worse, or better with the Pistons. Again, it's a head scratcher for me. The back-to-backs, I think odds makers put too much into those sometimes. This is one of those where pregame, I can't believe the Detroit Pistons are favored by 4 points on the road at San Antonio when San Antonio was already at home. It wasn't like they traveled. Yes, they played yesterday. And yes, Wemby's not playing. But that one screams to me home dog. What do you think?
Yeah. I like betting on these teams that lose their best player like the first time and maybe even for a couple of games. Can they do it back-to-back? It's like why Charlotte, which ended up covering against Denver, right? The line was 18. How ridiculous was that, right? They lost by 14. So a normal line probably would have been 14, 15 maybe, and Denver ends up covering the spread. But because it's back-to-back, same thing here. They bumped the line up a couple of points. You're right. I mean, who are the Detroit Pistons? I know they've been playing better, actually. They really have. 6-2 their last 8 road games. But I'll take the Spurs plus 4.5 at home, with the Aaron Fox trying to show his way there. Why not, right?
Yes, sir.
Maybe sprinkle a little on the money line.
You got same-game parlay coming up here?
We do. We got a little SGP. It's good to have the NBA back. We all kind of laugh at the NBA and yell and scream, but it is good to have it back. SGP coming up next.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fun a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in the conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Dave, hour number 1, 24 past hour number 1. You know what time it is. Time for a little SGP same game parlay. All right, we're going to head out west. We're going to use an NBA game. Why not? Sacramento at home against the Golden State Warriors. Pretty good game. Two teams, identical records. One game over 500. Both teams battling for those final playoff spots in the Western Conference. So a lot on this game, as much as you could have a lot riding on an NBA game in February. So I got to grab Sacramento. I'll put the main fork there. Give me Sacramento +2 against Golden State. You know, they've beaten the Warriors 5 straight, so they've had their number over the last season plus. Why not again today? Even though I know it's Jimmy B, but I'm not buying into Jimmy Butler. You know what? If you have Golden State's over, then you think they win games like this. I'm betting they're under, and I think they lose games like this. So give me Sacramento +2. We're going to go over 237, Golden State, Sacramento. Golden State had a long run of unders, but that's flipped. Now they're nothing but overs. So, heading into the break, 14-6 over last 20 home games. Sacramento 15-6 over last 21 games overall, including 6-1 at home. So, give me the over 237. Got to go with Steph Curry to get 20 points. No big deal. He should be able to get that. Then we're going to flip on the other side. DeMar DeRozan over 20.5 points. That's his regular number. I think he has a big game today. And then Draymond Green over 5.5 assists with Jimmy B and Curry. Now he can throw the ball to. These guys take jumpers. Boom, he gets an assist. I think he'll get 6 assists. I like that play a lot anyway. So add it all up. Sacramento over 237. Curry 20+ points. Draymond 5.5 assists, 6 assists. And then DeRozan over 20.5 points, 21 points, 858. So basically 8.5 to 1, Dave. What do you think? Can we get Sacramento to bring it home tonight?
I hate it when you give me the side the opposite that I like. I like Golden State. But yeah. I said it today earlier on Bostonian versus the Book. I said it again on Game Time Decisions. Sometimes these numbers just don't look right, and this one doesn't look right. I thought Golden State would be 4, so it's a little light in my opinion. Everything else kind of looks okay. Again, we've been so close a couple nights this week with the same game parlay. You went 5 pieces. How'd that thing work out last night? I can't remember, but that was a gigantic payout.
We had the hockey. We had the USA winning. We had USA winning.
Oh, that was it.
So we lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So we lost on
that. But yeah, so again, I said it yesterday. I'll stick to my guns the rest of this weekend. Betting the NBA this week is really hard after the break.
Yeah.
Booking it is the easiest thing ever because you really don't know. You just kind of put up the numbers. And now with all this guesswork and number of threes, the Celtics yesterday shot, I think Matt said today, 59 threes in a basketball game. They took 84 shots, and 59 of them were three-pointers. They're averaging 48 threes a game shooting. So it's so different and random, and things happen so different. So good luck. We'll sweat that tonight after we get done with the show and, hand it off to Gabe and Cam. So do you feel confident about it? I mean, what's your biggest sweat on it?
It's not one of my favorite ones, but confident enough to put it in. But you would like, oh man, I actually love this one. No, I think we hit Draymond's assists. I think we hit Curry and DeRozan's points. 237 is a pretty big number. It's kind of my belief in Sacramento, I suppose. Could I see Golden State winning? Yeah, but it's like I said when I was doing it. If you're not buying into Golden State, then they lose games like this.
Right.
I'm not buying into Golden State, and not this year. Maybe next year, but not this year. I think it's too hard to actually have teams mesh a little bit. I think they're a couple of players away. Sacramento's been playing much better since they fired the head coach. Little regression from that, but still, and they've beaten them 5 straight for whatever reason. So, but that would be the one, I suppose.
As a gambler, and we can ask Colby this. Colby's coming on next, and we'll look at some, really stacked card of games for the weekend. I don't like when I love a play. Like when I put something in, if I really love it, I'm like, I got to be missing something. I like to have that that little uneasy feeling. So
Really?
What about you?
No.
Yeah.
No, I like loving it. Saying it true. Colby Dan, How's Experience podcast coming up next.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. It's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fun a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in the conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Dave, hour number one, taking a look at some baskets. Paid attention to the NBA. Got a huge slate of games tomorrow. Couple that are going on tonight as well. So let's bring in our good buddy Colby Dan. Check out his podcast, the College Podcast Experience, or the College Experience Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. What's going on, Colby? How are you tonight, bud?
Yeah, I'm great, guys. This time of year, I feel like every game's got major implications. So for college basketball junkies, it's kind of like you're getting your fix finally. All year has been great, but I mean, you get to this point where, like, for me, you're paying attention to the Atlantic Sun Conference race. It's a bundle of fun. Denver, and how about those Denver Pioneers, guys?
Yes, they won big the other night. Yes,
easy. That was great. So tonight, a couple games, just, give you the floor. It's either Marquette, Villanova, or the Big Ten game of the night, Michigan State, Michigan. Any opinion on either one of those before we get to a stacked deck of weekend college basketball games?
Yeah, I took Villanova, and that's looking good. I didn't expect them to be rolling like this because, Kyle Neptune had never beaten Shaka Smart. Winless. I think Shaka had won 8 in a row against Nova, but it's looking pretty good right now for Nova. For the other one, I went with Sparty, and I think they were up, but I think Michigan just went on a run. My logic on that one was simply just Michigan they're undefeated at home, but they turn the ball over a lot, and I feel like Izzo historically is a coach that makes you pay when you turn the ball over. Also, Dusty May just reworked a contract in the past 8 hours. I always like to fade that. How much you paying attention to a game if you're reworking the old contract? But right now, Michigan looks like the better team at this very second, but it's early.
That's funny, Colby. I have that same system. I love betting against managers who have just got new contracts because you just said it. You know, how much can you be concentrating on your next game when you're worrying about getting a 10 to 5 to 15, 25, whatever $1 million contract. Let me ask you something about Michigan State before we move to tomorrow's games. They're in the bottom 10, Colby, in three-point shooting, not in the Big Ten, but in Division 1A basketball, 364 teams. They're like seventh from the bottom. On a big scale, when you look for teams that could upset the apple cart Final Four, maybe even Elite Eight, can they survive shooting that poorly from three-point land? Or are they not necessarily a one-and-doneer, but should we ignore the number 14 ranking they have right now because you can't win games if you can't hit from three?
I personally love it. Like them and St. John's are defying all the analytical people out there that love to dive into analytics. I think, Tom Izzo and Rick Pitino could care one bit about analytics. I think it's refreshing. I caught you guys last segment where the Celtics shot that many threes. I think that's ridiculous. Yeah. And to me, I think this is the best team Tom Izzo's had in a while. I think they could easily get to the Final Four, depending on, you got to see a bracket, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But you look at this team; they're the most athletic team he's had in a while. And the fact they have multiple guys, they rebound the ball well, they play good defense. Classic Izzo team. The Izzo teams I feel like have never been super great at the 3-point line. But you look over in New York City, Rick Pitino's team is not a great 3-point shooting team or an offensive team, by a jump shooting team by any means. So I know they were hot the other night in Chicago against DePaul, but I think it's refreshing to bring that back. I think both teams are well capable of going to the Final Four, or maybe even more.
Yeah, I liked Michigan tonight, but again, it looked like it was a little bit light, and you got to go against his own Sparty. So that's a hard game. We'll keep an eye on it the rest of the night here. Start off tomorrow, early, noon Eastern, 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific. We got Tennessee and Texas A&M. The game's virtually a pick 'em. The total's low, 131.5. Side total, anything jump out to you here, Cole?
Yeah, I mean, I love the side. I do think the over is an option here, but these games historically have been rock fights, so I understand that number. But I like A&M here because A&M is first off, they're the most experienced team in the SEC. I ate crow with them the other day in Starkville against Mississippi State. But that was on the road, and Mississippi State was just really hot. They shot the ball better than they have all year, really. I think they come back home, and one of the things you love here is Barnes has never beaten Buzz Williams in College Station. He's 0-2 with good reason. Yeah. They're both kind of mirror images of each other. They both are great defensive teams. Now, Tennessee charts better as a defensive team, but not on the road. They're 4-4 on the road. You look at the way A&M, best offensive rebounding team in the country, with that crowd momentum behind them, and the fact they just got blown out. I think it's one you say, hey, what are we doing here? You got blown out. They got this one circled. I think they're going to be having a good old time there in College Station. I like laying the points.
Speaking of laying points, how about Wisconsin laying 8.5 at home against Oregon? Another noon start.
Yeah, this one. If you caught the Oregon-Iowa game the other day, it was quite hilarious. If you're an Oregon fan, I feel like you got very fortunate to get that win. It was a crazy couple minutes to end the game. But, Wisconsin's been rolling. I think, much like I said with Izzo, they're the best version of Wisconsin I've seen in a while, probably since, one of their magical runs to when they played in the championship against Duke. I still think Oregon is the play, though, because Oregon offers, first off, it's the second. I love that second game when they're adjusted. Their body clocks have adjusted to the time. And athletically, I think they are the more athletic team. And then I like Dana Altman. They've won 3 in a row. Historically, Dana Altman teams, when you get to end of February, early March, you saw it a year ago, they weren't going to make the tournament. What do? They win the Pac-12 tournament, and then they get hot and they win a couple games in March. And we've seen that many times with Altman. So I'm going to take the 8.5. I do think Wisconsin will win this game, but give me the points in the Ducks.
This is a bettors type game. The next one, Louisville and Florida State. Louisville's in the top 25. Florida State has been just terrible. Things are going bad. South, all that stuff. It's a football-looking spread, 13.5. The total's 151.5. Is there any way, Colb, you can make a case for taking the points in Florida State?
Yeah, I think I would take the points. I don't necessarily have this one circled as one I want to bet because of that. Just the Florida State, in Miami situation. I know they played each other and then we cashed on that by the hook the other night. But I thought Miami was going to win that. Miami had that lead late. They just blew it in the final couple minutes. But Florida State's a team that, to me, well, first, let's start with Louisville. Louisville, to me, is a team that's overachieved greatly. Pat Kelsey's doing a great job in year one, but I just don't know about them being this big of favorites game in, game out. I don't know that they're there yet. So in a watered-down ACC, they are in second place, but I don't know what to – I kind of think this is a team that could lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament because they really haven't beaten a lot of great competition. So I'm going to take Florida State to stay within that number. I know it's a tricky play because you got half the roster suing the coach. You just wonder what the pulse of that locker room is with him, basically in retirement already. But give me the points. I think it's a little bit too much based off roster to roster matching them up.
How about Mississippi State laying only 1.5 at Oklahoma? One of my opposite pick games that we'll get to next hour.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was surprised by the line a little bit. I think it's telling you to take Oklahoma. So I will load up on Porter Moser in Oklahoma, although they've been all over the place this year. I think he's going to get fired at the end of the year. But give me the Sooners. The problem is this stadium's been like half empty. Even when they were ranked, it was half empty. So it's like, how much is that home edge? I think that the number was a bit shocking. I think they're telling you that Oklahoma's going to get this done. They're kind of similar styles. So give me the Sooners at home.
Colby, you got time for another segment? Because there's a whole bunch of more games I would like to run down if you got time.
For sure.
Cool. Oklahoma, by the way, at one point was 13-0 with some wins over ranked teams. But, 3-10 since. All right, full slate of games, including the big one, Houston, Iowa State. We'll get Colby's thoughts on that one and others when we come back.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I mean, it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Dave talk with Colby Dant, the College Experience podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, running down some of the big games for tomorrow. And just got some word. I thought something had to be up because this line was 9, which I thought was crazy to begin with, and now it's 12.5. So something had to come up, and Mr. Sharapan found out, though, Colby. But Houston at home against Iowa State, and I guess Iowa State's 2 better players aren't playing. Is that the word that we got?
Yeah.
I just checked,
it's listed right here. Curtis Jones and Keyshawn Gilbert are out for Iowa State's game at Houston. Jones and Gilbert are the Cyclones' top 2 scorers and combined average 31.3 points per game. Thank you. Hat tip to CBW for tagging me on that, friend of the show.
Bummer.
That just crossed them off the list. There's nothing to do. You can't take them. You can't bet on them. You can't bet against them. I mean, just leave the game alone because the line is so baked. Like, Colb, it's too late, right? You've been late to a party. This is that expression I use all the time. You're too late to the party, man. Just look at another game.
I think if you're going to take this game, we all want to watch it because it's the top teams in the Big 12 right now. But Jones is a 6-man guy a lot of the year. He lights it up. But he's a 6th-man guy. Gilbert's been a beast for them. He started the UNLV transfer, but the other guys have to step up. Joshua Jefferson, I think his name is, and Lipsy. I was so excited to take the points when it was 9.5 because I thought, yes, the top-rated defensive team, but these teams are completely like mirror images to me. Just intense defense, a couple shot creators. Maybe Houston rebounds the ball better, but now it does make it a little tricky. With that going up to 12, and I still think you take the Clones though. I still think if you're going to take this game, I understand. I probably won't take it, but I'm saying Jones was a 6-man guy. Curtis Jones only started like 6 or 7 games for them this year. So then you're asking yourself, can they get along without him and Gilbert, their top scorer? And I think if Lipsy and Jefferson step up, they can stay within that number. I think the play would still be the points if you're going to take this game. I'm probably not going to touch it, though, and I think you're right.
All right. What about that was the premier game of the day, but the number 1 team in the country is playing, Auburn against Georgia. And a couple games now they haven't covered. I mean, they win, and they're at home. They're not going to lose to Georgia, I don't think. But are they going to cover against Georgia?
Oh, man, 18.5 points. I mean, the problem with Georgia is they've been so bad on the road. 1-6 on the road. 1-6 on the road. Meanwhile, I mean, I still think I'd probably lay it just because Georgia has such a history of getting blown out on the road. With Arkansas, we took the points the other night, and Arkansas, for a second, looked like they were going to win that game with about the 5-minute mark or so. But Georgia's just been so dreadful on the road. I don't know how you can have confidence in that play, especially with Auburn looking a little iffy. They got that game was the hangover after the Iron Bowl on the hardwood there. I think Auburn returns the form here. I think you probably lay it here in this one.
Great game in the ACC, which does not include North Carolina or Duke. How many times have we said that? How about Clemson at SMU? Basically, pick 'em. Tigers favored by 1.5 on the road.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say this is the biggest game in SMU basketball history. I know Larry Brown got him to the tournament. I know back in the 90s they had a decent team one time too, but they got some serious money coming into that program in football, but also in basketball. Look at their recruiting class next year. George Bush is got season tickets. George W. Bush. He's been at all these games, but if you look at their schedule, and by the way, if they win this game, I think they're going to make the NCAA tournament, providing they don't get upset in the remaining, to one of the other ACC foes down the stretch. But I think they're phony. I think if you watch this team, they've been phony. Look at their best wins. I got Clemson in this one. I think SMU, the only thing that could save them maybe is the moment and the fact that this crowd has never seen something like this where, they win this, it's going to probably solidify them in the NCAA tournament. But I just think Clemson's a way better team. Now, there is no familiarity with these programs. They never played. So maybe SMU can catch them off balance because of that. But I just think Clemson's a far better team. And you've seen they got drilled by Carolina. They got drilled by Duke. They got drilled by Louisville. Any of the good teams in the ACC have been drilling them just because they're a middle-of-the-pack AAC team. You know, they weren't a great team in the AAC last year. So I'm going to take Clemson, but I'm kind of fascinated by this element of them in the future and then this game in general.
All right, we only got like a minute, maybe 2 minutes left here. Late night for the East Coast, but perfect time for us West is an interesting Big 12 game. Now, Iowa State and Houston is the A side, but this is a pretty good game. BYU at Arizona. It's hovering around 7.5. BYU had an impressive game at home. Arizona, a couple losses this past week. Got to, right the ship, so to say. You'll hear everything. I don't know. I like the way BYU played. I'm surprised this line is over 7. I kind of lean in BYU. What about you?
Oh man, I love Arizona. I just think, can BYU sustain that? I mean, BYU. First off, Arizona is a team that has been playing a lot better the second half of the season, and they lost their last home game. You remember, Houston came in there, won by 2 or 3. So they rarely lose twice. Now I know the number 7.5, so there's a way that they could still win. But I just think BYU's been a little phony on the road. They're 3-5 on the road. They've gotten drilled in some places. This stadium is one where momentum is a real thing. I actually think this is like a top 10 home environment stadium. Like when you're down and they go on a run, if you can't get a basket, you look up in 3 minutes and then you're down by 30. So I think Arizona's the play. I think BYU, great home win. That's one they'll remember forever, but I think Arizona is the better team. I'm going to lay that number.
Colby, great job as always. Check out his podcast, the Gambling Podcast Network, the College Experience Podcast. Have a great weekend, Colby. We'll talk to you next week.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Thanks again, Kobe Dan joining us as he always does a couple times during the week, but definitely on Fridays, setting us up for a big day of Saturday afternoon, Saturday night college basketball. Time for our Black Cloud play of the day. All right, we don't do this too often, but we're going to use a game that's already underway. They're at the half. The line is the same, basically, as it was. I saw this as a 9 o'clock start. I don't know where I saw it, but I know I started as a 9 o'clock start, but instead they actually tipped off, I guess it would have been 8 o'clock or so. So they're at the half. It's Michigan versus Michigan State. Best game probably on the board tonight, outside of maybe the Villanova-Marquette game. I'm going to grab Michigan. It's 3.5 right now. You know what? I didn't think they were going to win by 3. So if you like it, they're up 3, 37-34. It's going back 3.5, 4.5. FanDuel bumped it up to 4.5 just now as soon as I said the Black Cloud. So take it for what it is. I still think they end up winning by 6 or 7. I wouldn't go much higher than that. Now it's back down to 3.5. So Michigan, you're getting 2 ranked teams, and I'm getting a home team at basically pick them. Just win the freaking game, right? So if that's the case, then let it be Michigan. They play much better at home than they do on the road. Last 5-0 at home, 4-1 against the spread. Last 5 at home against Michigan State. So give me the Wolverines to win this one. Like I said, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8-point win. I don't like betting against Tom Izzo. I don't, but I will tonight. They play basically Michigan State has owned this series, but Michigan does play a little bit better at home than they do on the road. That's where they are tonight.
I like it. I thought the number would have been higher, pregame. I thought it would be 4, 2 possessions. So it was under 4 this morning. It was 2.5/3 in some places. It's halftime right now, like you said, 37-34. There's the closing number, was 2.5 and 150.5 with the graphic. We're sitting just about the same thing. They just looks like they're getting underway. Was it 38-34? So both teams led by 8.
Another point.
Was the biggest lead in the game. Points off of turnovers were 7 and 9. They both had 8 fouls. They both had 7 and 5 turnovers. I mean, this is a dead even game, other than the field goal percentage from the field. 54% for Michigan and 40% for the Sparties. So I like it. 7 of 8 from the free throw line for Michigan State, 6 of 11 for Michigan. Be wary of those teams that can't make their foul shots. So we might have to sweat that a little bit. But I'm with you. That's good. I like this Black Cloud play of the night being a halftime. This is pretty good.
Not bad,
we might have to incorporate that a little bit if the boys could do it on the fly like that, the graphic. I don't know. You got to check the clock a little bit, though. I mean, it was a 5 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock.
I'm telling you, I saw 9 o'clock. I saw 9 o'clock Eastern.
Get the glasses.
I did. I saw 9 o'clock. I saw Houston laying 9. Now it's 12.5, and I know I saw Gonzaga laying only 4.5 because I used all these games in my opposite picks, and now it's up to 6.5. So we got to change all the.
I don't know what place you're looking at. You got to get the prescription upped.
What?
I don't know what it is, but I mean, it's things are getting. You got to hold it further away from your face when you're looking at stuff.
Yeah, the old,
right?
Yeah,
get a little further. Oh, what are we doing here? But no, that's good. Yeah. So I mean, there were some big games like that Colby mentioned. I mean, we went through a bunch of them. The one
we didn't mention Kentucky, Alabama.
Yeah. We didn't mention that
one.
How
about that one?
Kentucky, Alabama.
Look at the total on that one. You see the total on that one?
I did not.
Remember they played.
Is it over 180? It should be over 180. 182?
180.5. Remember, that's the one that was 102.97. I think the total was 175. I remember you and I saying we both liked the over. One of our guests or someone said they liked the under. And we're like, you know what? But 180 right now, it's 180.5. Can you bet an over 180.5?
Yeah, because during the game, it's going to go up to 190 something. Yes, that number should be 184. Dare you to bet under. I'd make it the highest total of the entire season. But 180.5, that'll test your will a little bit. That's not easy to bet over that in a college basketball game. But that game's going over. It's going over.
Yeah. Went over last time. 102.97. Not even close. Right?
Somebody's
Not
getting
even
100.
close.
Somebody's
Yeah.
getting 100.
How about team totals real quickly? Maybe that they don't have that stuff up yet. But yeah, you gotta bet the over. You just have to. All right, hour number 2 coming up next here on the grid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He is now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fun a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back. It is in-game live game day. Hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Busy second hour. Scott and Dave until 10 p.m. Eastern time. What do we got? We got our award-winning opposite picks coming up in about a half hour or so. We'll do some baseball talk with Tommy Lorenzo. Cover the weekend podcast. A little MLB, some futures with him. And then our good buddy Cam Stewart to close out basically the show at 9:44. One of his golf picks doing very, very well. I'm getting, I put it in for a couple of shekels there, Dave, and they're offering me almost a 4-to-1 payout right now. So I did that last week, and the guy won on a 22-to-1 ticket. I forget what the number is on this guy, but it's a pretty. It's Stephen Yeager, 25-to-1. And they're offering me, including the wager. So really it's 3-to-1. So they're offering me 3-to-1. So we'll talk to Cam about that. He's going to be pretty happy. But how about the NBA board? You know, all this talk about hockey and how great hockey is and this and that, right? And then you get the NBA. I mean, it's so sad. It really is. The headline game of the night, right? Everyone's watching, supposedly. Knicks in Cleveland, you know, maybe a little preview. Who's going to win here? It's going to be a close game. 118-79. Cavaliers by 39. 39 early fourth quarter. I don't understand how do you get blown out of a game like first game back from the All-Star break for the Knicks? I don't understand. You can lose by double digits. To lose by 40 plus points. This is why people don't like the NBA. It's just joke. I mean that's ridiculous playing that bad.
It's one of those things that I want to celebrate the NHL and the four nations, and everything we got was good. And it wasn't in spite of the NBA, but it's a natural comparison because the seasons run, parallel. you get this stuff in the NBA, and these are the second and third best teams, odds wise, to win the East, and it feels like they're both miles apart from the Celtics, but they were supposed to be a lot closer to each other, and they're not. I mean, this is, again, we talked about the Knicks' problems against good teams, and apparently it snowballs, and you don't see this in hockey. Like, I mean, there's 5-0 games, and I don't even know if this would equate to 5-0. This feels like this might be like 8-1 or something like that. And those don't happen that often. I mean, that's just the nature of the game. So even when you get down, a lot of times the team that gets up 5-0 just dumps the puck. Everybody just tries to get out of there, and it is what it is. But, I mean, the NBA now, they just keep shooting. They just keep scoring, and Cleveland's going to put one on them. I mean, there's 10:51 left. They have 118 points. I don't know. They're going to put up another 130. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, it's one of those situations that you can't help, but it doesn't help their cause. The Bucks, by the way, are up 90-76, just under the 10-minute mark, up 14. Listen, there's times when we're on the show and you hear us saying it. Hopefully at home, wherever you're at, you're doing it. And if you are, tweet at us at Opposite Picks, at SportsBK, tag SportsGrid. We love getting those tweets. We got a bunch of them yesterday. Stay tuned for Tommy Lorenzo and Baseball Future Talk next. And then this Opposite Picks segment. I mean, Wetzel, last week, another 5-2. I mean, this is rolling. People are texting me Saturday night. He did it again. You got. I mean, this is what we do at 5 or 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. The Opposite Pick segment. You got to be tuned in for that.
Yeah, and we went mainstream. Last week we had who were our picks? East Texas State, Coastal Carolina,
really
North Carolina
A&T.
Yeah, we had some crazy ones last week. This week we stuck with not all top 25 games, but most top 25 games. So I had to make a little adjustment here or there on the fly with the Iowa State players. Change the lines a little bit, but I think we got some pretty good players. We got some really good angles. I do like them. I really do.
Okay.
Yeah, we gave out, and I won't say it's a winner because there's 8 minutes left, but we like Milwaukee. Here's another one. Not quite, that was to me overwhelming, but I think Memphis right now, they're down 6 at Orlando, 91-85. You're getting 4.5, and more importantly, which I'll grab, I'll take the plus 285 on the money line. 9.5 minutes left. So you have basically the entire fourth quarter. They're only down 6 if that score is right. I got to see Memphis lose back-to-back games. They lost yesterday. I don't think they're going to lose back-to-back. I just don't. I think they're the better team. And I think, like I said, it's not quite like Milwaukee versus Washington, but I got to see Memphis lose back-to-back. Give me them plus it's now down to 240. Give me the Grizz plus 240 on the money line right now.
Okay. I like taking the points in that situation, at least at first. And then maybe as you start to see the run happening, you can get ahead of it. But I'd sacrifice a little bit less on the money line to get a better number. If you can get the 5.5, which it is right now, with kind of fair juice, that's fine. Because a lot of times what happens in the book, they'll keep the number the same and just start messing with the juice. So you don't want to lay like 160 and take 5.5. Rather take the money line plus the points in that situation, or the money line plus money. But 5.5, the one book I'm looking at here keeps bouncing between even money minus 120, even money minus 120. I'd rather just move the number if it was me. But again, I'm out of the odds making business right now, and just looking at it from a better standpoint. 72-71 Heat over the Raptors 5 minutes ago in the third. Any thoughts on that one? Because two teams that I don't really have a clue about, but you can grab the home team plus 4.5 right now, or plus 170 with the Raptors. Doesn't seem like a bad play.
Yeah. I didn't have a good feel for that game, honestly. Toronto's been playing a little bit better. Miami, with all the things that happened with them, did they kind of, regroup during the All-Star break since they didn't have any All-Stars? Maybe. Although actually they had Tyler Hero, so yeah, I didn't like that one too much. I did like Dallas. Now we may have, it's a little too late to the party, perhaps. They're up 12 against New Orleans, laying 9.5. It was 5.5 to start the game. This Pelicans team just put a fork in them. When I saw that number, it's just like, wow. New Orleans, they're 3-23. Their last 26 road games. I mean, they're just horrible. We all think they're going to be good because they got good players, but they're all hurt. And they got rid of Ingram now. There's nothing there. They've lost 10 of their last 11. They clearly are going for that number 1 overall pick. They're 8-20. Forget about not winning. How about 8-20 their last 28 road games? And Dallas, say what you want, with the Luka trade, but they've been able to survive that. They've covered 5 straight at home, 7-1 against the spread. Not all without Luka, but still 7-1 against the spread. At 5.5, I thought that was a bad line. And like I said, 9.5, that's kind of pushing it. I'd like to see the Pelicans make a little bit of a run and get that down to maybe 7.5. But I did like them tonight.
Well, we'll start to see it now. This is when it really starts. The numbers get really inflated against the bad teams. You may have got this one right. It should have been a little bit more, and it wasn't because it's the first game back. You ain't going to get too many more games where you're only laying 5.5.
Yeah. Baseball talk. Tommy Lorenzo. Cover the weekend podcast. Coming up next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Dave, hour number 2 on this fabulous Friday. We'll put the baskets aside for a second. We'll keep a keen eye, though, on that. How about a little baseball? Today, we had exhibition baseball for the first time as we officially can now look at MLB futures. And with that, let us bring in our next guest, Tommy Lorenzo, covers the Cover the Weekend podcast, rocking the LA Dodgers stuff tonight, Tommy. So, you know what? I'll start there because I'm buying in on the Dodgers. I know that's the public sentiment. Their over-under is 104.5. FanDuel and the others have a prop on whether they set the record for most wins in a season. One of the guys told me DraftKings was actually offering 10-1. Last time I checked on FanDuel, it was plus 790. Are you all in on the Dodgers? Would you take those bets? Would you go over their win total?
You know, there's some bets I would take on the Dodgers. I don't know if I'd go over the win total. I certainly am not going to bet on them to break the record. Although, I mean, I saw that as high as 15-1 out in Vegas, and then a lot of the other books followed suit. But obviously, people are betting it because the book I saw it at 15-1, I think, is down to 12-1 now. And as you mentioned, Scott, 9-1 on them to break the all-time season win record. So, love my Dodgers. Obviously they are a stacked group, both pitching, hitting, bullpen, everything. But you got another team in that division who I think is going to be very tough. I just think it's a little too high. I mean, there's so many other opportunities if you're really looking to cash tickets around Major League Baseball to bet over-unders on season win totals. And obviously, as a Dodger fan, I can just sit back and enjoy the wins as they come. But it's a pretty high number, and I'm usually an under player, and I certainly don't want to go that high on a season win total, even though they are stacked.
Who is that team, T-Lo, in the NL West? Is it San Diego or is it Arizona? Because it's definitely not Colorado, and I don't think it's the Giants. Which one is it?
Oh, it's the Diamondbacks, and their rotation is plenty deep. Not as deep as the Dodger rotation, but, if you're looking at these NL East teams as well, Mets, Braves, Phillies, really good rotations. But, the D-backs have, they go 3, maybe 4 deep. They've got veterans, some up-and-coming young pitchers that are showing signs that they're going to be pretty strong. Corbin Burns is their ace now. You got Brandon Pfaadt there, who is kind of a sexy pick to kind of bust out this season. He's showing good numbers, strikes out a lot of guys. And they got hitters. They got some underrated hitters too. Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte. The Diamondbacks are going to be really, really dangerous. And if anyone is looking to go against the Dodgers, although I don't recommend it, not that I'm a Dodgers fan, I just think, you fade the Dodgers at your bankroll's risk. There's plenty of other divisions in the AL to look at. The Diamondbacks, are viable. They're 15, 16-1 in the NL to win the NL. So not. I still think the Dodgers are the ones, but I think the Diamondbacks are going to be very good this year.
So why don't we follow that up then? You have Dodgers plus 140 to win the National League ultimately?
Yeah, I do. And if you do want to take a stance, I think you go all the way down there to the double-digit odds with the Diamondbacks. Again, Braves, Mets, Phillies, they're going to be good. But if you look at these pitching rotations and the hitters, the Mets got some bats. But I think overall, when you balance it all out, I think the Diamondbacks are right there with those teams, and you're getting tremendous value at 15-1 as opposed to going 5-1 and trying to beat the Dodgers that way.
You've done this so many times between player markets, MVPs, rookie of the years. What are you looking at? Spring training is really underway today, so it's early looks. But have you looked at a particular market in the award market, whether it's rookie of the year, MVP, something like that you want to hit on tonight to give to the people?
Sure. NL MVP, as much as I love Shohei and many do, I think there's some vulnerability there. And I don't think 2-1 is anything you need to be looking at when you're betting a MVP future. That labrum tear, you saw what it did to Matt Kemp. You saw what it did to Bellinger. I don't think Ohtani's numbers are going to collapse, but there's just too many red flags to, eat, 2-1 or plus 160 on him to win the MVP. There's double-digit guys in the NL who I think are going to have great years. Kyle Tucker comes to mind. His trajectory for home runs last year was off the charts until he got hurt, and he doesn't get hurt. He's not a guy that has been injury prone. It was a freak foul off his leg. He played a little longer, ended up having a fracture. So Kyle Tucker going over to the Cubs. It's a high-profile team. He's going to hit a ton of home runs there. I think he's a good one to look at. He's right around 15-1, I believe. And a deep sleeper here, a dark horse, is Jackson Merrill of the Padres. His second half numbers, especially his power numbers for such a young guy, completely off the charts. He can steal some bases. He can hit for average. He reminds me of a poor man's Mike Trout. He just doesn't get the play down in San Diego. You look at his numbers. He had a fantastic year. Kid's only 22. So 40-1 on Jackson Merrill. There's other guys to look at, but I certainly would look past Ohtani in that market and try to swing for the fences a little bit, pardon the pun, and look for some better odds in the MVP market. That's my opinion.
Any rookie of the year, guys?
It's funny. Last year, I was really big on Lewis Gill, and I tweeted it out in spring training. The guy was pushing 100 miles per hour, and Lewis Gill wasn't even on the American League Rookie of the Year posted in sportsbooks. Couldn't find him. So Jason Dominguez is the favorite. I don't think that that's a good play at 3-1. I think if you want to get into the Rookie of the Year market, especially in the American League, even the National League, take a look at spring training. Last year, 2 pitchers won the award, Gill and Skeens. I think this year, if you want to talk Pirates, Bubba Chandler, he's 10-1. He throws gas. The Pirates are developing pitchers. He's another righty in that system. Skeens did it last year. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Paul Skeens, but 6'3", 200 pounds, guy throws gas. If he stays healthy, look at control with him in spring training. That's been his only issue. He walks too many guys. But if he has control if he gets his control straightened out in spring training, Bubba Chandler of the Pirates, I think he's worth a few bucks. Shea Whitcomb of the Astros in the American League, 50-1, 31 home runs in the minors last year. Altuve's going out to left field. There might be an opening for him in the infield. 26-year-old guy, 50-1. I think you look at him as well.
We can cash those tickets, that's for sure. Tommy Lorenzo, great job, Tommy. Cover the Weekend podcast. Check it out in your favorite podcast stores.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the Grid. Thanks again, Tommy Lorenzo. Check out his podcast, Cover the Weekend Podcast, at your favorite little podcast stores. So over in Cleveland, a barn burner for sure. Cleveland edges out the Knicks 142 to 102.
Wow.
What a disgrace. What a just an absolute check out 106, excuse me. They lost by a mere 36. So if you put them in a 25 or a 35 point tease, you still end up losing. Gotta love the NBA. I don't know how you. I would like one reporter. Like Thibodeau's a good head coach, right? And in his early days, with Minnesota, he's known for defense and this and that. I want to ask him just, how difficult is it for you to sit there and watch this garbage? 142 points, never made a run the Knicks, never made a stop, never made in your face defense, never. You just sit back and just okay, it's the NBA. I mean, crazy. Magic by 4 over the Grizzlies.
Time.
3 minutes
I
left.
think you have to understand it's a different time. Like, it's okay to
I
strike
guess.
out 200 times a year. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's a good
These
example.
guys strike
Right.
out and practically moonwalk back to the dugout. Old school guys
Yeah.
could be like, didn't you choke up? Like, how are you still swinging for the fence? Third time striking out tonight. It happens. NBA, you can lose by 40 now. There's no shame in it. It's just chalk it up. We'll get the next one. I don't know. I don't know why it happens. It does. Before you talk about the Orlando, Memphis, what about this Bucks and Wizards?
Yeah.
They're making this close. What happened here? We had this one in the bag.
I don't know.
It was done.
In the bag.
no.
It was done. Collecting the money. Cashing the ticket. Doubling down on our next
Man.
bet. 101.98 now with a minute 54 left. Bucks laying 3.5. How much does a good little hunch bet would have been Kyle Kuzma tonight, right, against his former team. He had 19 or has 19. That probably would have been close to his number. Where's the Greek freak who's really not Greek? Where the hell was he tonight? 18 stinking points.
Yeah.
You can't lose to Washington, Milwaukee. I mean, all right. Original line was 5.5, 6, 102.98. So they're at the free throw line. So they hit a couple of free throws. All right. I don't know what the Wizards are trying to win basketball games at this point, but actually, you know what? They got such a big cushion. 4 games. They have 9. Jazz and Pelicans have 13 that I guess they figured, might as well win a couple of games.
Right.
Some of these teams are just so bad. All right. So we got to sweat that one out. Let's see if we can get that original number home. I think they win the game. So if you bet them to win when they were down, you're okay, I would think. Minute 9 left. Up 4.
Right.
All right. Grizz down 4.
You see the
2:35
Spurs,
left.
what they're
Spurs
doing?
making a run?
You see what the Spurs?
Ooh.
The Spurs.
Wow.
The Spurs, while we were talking about baseball, I guess the Spurs took over the second quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, they're outscoring them 29-11. They were down 36-27 after the first quarter. They're up 29-11 in the second quarter, 56-47, 57-47 right now. 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. That's a good score for basketball. I keep trying to avoid talking about the Grizzlies because we took, what was it, 5.5? We said to take 5.5. You wanted to take them on the money line too, but 5.5 was the number. It's hovering right around there. 104, 101, 2:21 left. Oh, this is going to come right down to the end. Wetzel, you may need a buzzer beater before we get to opposite picks segment. We might need a buzzer beater. My goodness.
This may have been 104, 102, 2:21 left. This might have been one of those where I was better off taking the 5.5 than the money line. But they're not moving that money line too much right now. They get the Magic up 2, laying minus 290. What dope would make that bet right now, right? And now it's locked. But, I mean, it's a 2-point lead with 2.5 minutes left, and I'm going to lay almost 3-1. Why do they put these lines up there? I guess they have to make it fair, but what dope is betting that, right?
Yeah.
Down to minus 178. We got a shot.
I don't know.
They took a point away from the Knicks. They're making the final, according to FanDuel, 142-105. for some reason.
Oh.
New Orleans is actually leading the Mavericks. Now I would jump in on the Mavs laying 3.5. 5 minutes left to go, second quarter.
Wow.
We'll see if they,
How did that happen?
right? Yeah, I don't know. So good benefit. Opposite pick coming up next.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter, and the league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are, ratings are through the roof, profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Ah, yes, LLs, LWs, loyal listeners, loyal watchers know what that music means. Time to take out the pad and pencils, get set for the fastest and, more importantly, most profitable 5 minutes in television, Opposite Picks. What are Opposite Picks, you newbies ask? Well, we give you 7 games, 7,000 reasons why we like one team, and then we go opposite. Why? Because despite all the stats, trends, hunches, injury reports, weather reports, systems, trends, and everything else, nobody beats the boys in Vegas. Proved it again last week. Nice little 5-2. We're 4 weeks into the college basketball season since we started a little bit late since we're doing college football. Now 16 up and 12 down. Cha-ching, cha-ching. So here we go. 4 games over 500 going for the summit. Week number 5, pick number 1. How about Mississippi State, Dave, laying 3.5 at Oklahoma? Oh, the boys in Vegas' computer must be missing a digit because this should be 13.5, not 3.5. Where's the other one? There was a point, as we talked with Colby, that Oklahoma was 13-0 at this point. But then they started the SEC schedule, a little different. They're 3-10 since, including 2-4 at home. So don't think being at home is going to help them, Eddie. They lost to stinking LSU at home. They've lost 5 in a row heading into this game, 4 by double digits. They stink. Meanwhile, 19-6 State already has 5 wins over ranked teams this year, and they're a more than respectable 6-2 on the road this season. Mississippi State 10-5 against the spread their last 15 road games. Okie only 13-19 against the spread their last 32 games overall. Love Mississippi State here, laying only 3.5. Give me Oklahoma plus the 3.5.
And we're off.
Pick number 2. Here we go. We're bumping this line up because 2 of the better players aren't playing. I don't care. Give me Iowa State. Love them plus 12.5 at Houston. 12.5 points against a 21-5 Cyclones team, a team that a lot of people think can win the national championship. I get the 2 dudes are hurt, but really only one is a starter. We've seen 1,000 times teams respond when one of their best players aren't playing, so this is okay. They've rebounded, went through a little bit of a struggle, right? They lost 3 in a row, but they've won 4 in a row since, all by double digits. They've beaten Houston, by the way, 4 of their last 5 meetings, so they own this series. Houston with 4 losses, Auburn, Alabama, Texas Tech, and San Diego State. Iowa State's in that class. They don't beat the big boys like we all think Iowa State is. Maybe they win, but by 13 points? I love Iowa State getting 12.5. Give me Houston minus the 12.5.
Big chalk. That's a big chalk play. Big chalk play.
Big one. Pick number 3. Vandy getting 1.5 at home against Ole Miss. Tell the little lady, forget about making lunch today. You already have a big-time sandwich game on your plate. This is it. Boy. Nationally ranked Ole Miss played rival Mississippi State last game. You know who they play next on Wednesday? Number 1 Auburn. You know what makes this game? The sandwich game. You think they give a rat's behind about stinking Vandy? No. And you know what? Vandy at 17-9, they're in desperate need of a signature win. This could be it. They're capable. They got wins over Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas already this year. This game's at home. Ole Miss 14-19 against the spread their last 33 games. Vandy 20-13 against the spread their last 33 games. Vandy gets the win. Love Vandy here getting 1.5. Give me Mississippi laying 1.5. Pick number 4, Clemson laying 1.5 at SMU. Time to hop on the Tigers bandwagon. First ever meeting between these 2 teams. So let's go with common opponents. Let's see now. Clemson this year beat Duke. SMU lost to Duke by 27. Clemson beat North Carolina. SMU lost to North Carolina by 25. Clemson beats Wake Forest. SMU loses to Wake Forest by 11. Clemson does lose to Louisville by only 10. SMU lost to Louisville by 25. Clemson beats Kentucky. SMU loses to Michigan State. Notice a pattern here, folks. Everything points to Clemson. Love the Tigers here. Give us SMU plus the 1.5.
Go Mustang. This one, I really, really like that one, Scott. That's a good one. Keep it going. Keep it going. Yeah.
Kentucky getting 9.5 now at Alabama. Crimson is starting to come off the tide in Alabama, folks. They've lost 2 straight to start a 7-game against nationally ranked teams run to close out the regular season. You talk about a brutal stretch, but that's life in the SEC. Their shooting has hit a wall. They're hitting less than 33% from 3 in those 2 games. They've given up a combined, get a load of this, 204 points in the 2 combined losses. That's not going to get it done against the Cats, who are an amazing 15-3 against the spread as underdogs the last couple of years, including 6-1 this year. They're also 7-3 against the spread against ranked teams this year. Bama's only 10-13 against the spread last 23 home games. Kentucky wins outright. Let's grab Alabama, laying the 9.5. Pick number 6, Arkansas getting 1.5 versus Missouri. Major letdown spot for the Missouri Tigers, who are coming off a monster win over Alabama, where, again, they put 110 points on the board. They're ranked now. People are writing all kind of great articles about how they could get to the Final Four, this, that, what have you. You know what? I've been watching this stuff for decades, folks. This is the absolute perfect letdown spot. Everybody telling you how great you are. Now you're playing unranked, mediocre at best Arkansas team. The line is only a point and a half. They're begging to take Missouri here. Don't fall for it, folks. Calipari's crew wins. They're playing their best ball of the season, even though they are only 3-3 their last 6. But those 3 wins, all good wins, 3 losses, all by single digits, all against teams ranked in the top 10. Love Arkansas at home here, getting a point and a half. Give us Missouri, laying a point and a half.
Love
Final
Missouri.
pick. Little WCC action, West Coast action. Gonzaga laying 5.5 against St. Mary's. You know what? I'm all for bucking trends, Dave. I really am. But as I told you for the Super Bowl, when Kansas City failed to become the first team to ever win 3 straight Super Bowls, St. Mary's has never beaten Gonzaga 3 in a row. They've beaten them the last 2 meetings, earlier this year and then in the conference championship game last season. Never is a trend that you don't buck, folks, okay? It's not happening. Plus, Gonzaga, 18-4 at home against St. Mary's. They're winning and they're covering. All right, there's no way in the world St. Mary's even keeps this thing close. You'd have to be the biggest bird brain, butthead, meathead, numbskull, nincompoop, lunatic, dope, dork, dirtbag, idiot, jerk, jackass in the world to put American money on a team that's never done something you're asking them to do. They haven't even covered 3 in a row against Gonzaga, let alone win. Give us St. Mary's plus the 5.5. Opposite picks, week number 5 of the college basketball
Put it up,
season.
boys. Put it up. There's the board. Run them down, Wetzel. What are they?
Oklahoma plus 3.5. Houston laying 12.5. Mississippi laying a point and a half. SMU getting a point and a half. Alabama laying 9.5. Missouri laying a point and a half. And it pains me to say it, but give me St. Mary's plus 5.5 at Gonzaga. Opposite picks, week number 5.
Full card for tomorrow.
That's full card.
My buddy, the Shrew, he's out watching the show. He's writing all this stuff down. Said he's loaded up. Your boys
there
loaded
you go.
up tomorrow. Yeah.
We went soft last week with the cupcake games. This week we went with the big boys. People said we'll do some better games, guys. So we did that. Cam Stewart coming up next.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. It's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in the conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. So we are set with our opposite pick, Scott and Dave, our number 2, closing out the week. But our good buddy Cam Stewart takes over along with Gabe Morency at the top of the hour. I must say, Cam, kudos. I got Steven Yeager in our little Mexico Open here, and FanDuel's offering me they're offering me a 3-to-1 buyout.
Don't take it.
4-to-1 when you include your bet.
Don't
but
you
I'm
tell
not,
them?
I took it last week and I screwed up, so I may not take it this week.
Scott, don't take 3-to-1 on this guy, okay? Like when Frank FanDuel comes up to you and wants to make a deal, you say, "I appreciate you, sir, but I think I'm just gonna sit this one. I'm there." Here's the thing. Potgieter, it's one of the best stories ever. For people that don't know, let's talk. This kid from South Africa set a record. For people that don't know, he shot a 61 today. The youngest player to shoot that on the PGA Tour, okay? This guy came out of nowhere today. He shot a 61. This is Thursday and Friday. Yeager's in second, okay? Scott, he's been there second, like page 1 of the leaderboard all year. We're getting a great price on him. I'm not going to say this Potgieter guy, he's awesome. And I watched golf and stuff like that. No one saw this coming. No one. I've been watching Golf Channel and the college basketball, and people are talking about this kid. But has he slept on a lead? Has he woken up and say, "Oh my God, I'm leading in Mexico. It doesn't matter if it's whatever. This is game changing." Steven Yeager is a guy that's been on tour that is a very, very good golfer. And like in my opinion, an elite golfer. And he's breathing down this kid's neck. If this guy comes out tomorrow and goes a couple bogeys, it's on, Scott. Don't take nothing. Give me your number, whatever. We'll play this one together this week because I got to be on top of this thing. If it's a dead horse race with 3 holes left or whatever, and they want to offer you something respectable, you take it. But you're not taking 3-to-1 now with a veteran on second place in a tournament, 4 strokes with 2 damn days. We got 36 holes left in this tournament. There's a time and a place. That's the thing. I made mistakes before. How many times, Dave, are you hockey's back or this or whatever, cashing out a bet and then it wins, and I cost myself $700, because I just don't want to deposit money in. I'd rather just take it from another bet, and then it wins, and then you're sitting there going, God, I'm an idiot. And we do it all the time. Us gamblers, we do this stuff every day. But Scott, it's not the time. They need to offer you 6-to-1 on that. I think the price isn't right, and I still think Yeager's going to be there. We got a lot of guys in the mix too. Aaron, Ryan Ginger's breathing down his neck, so we got a lot of guys lingering.
Got to ask you your takeaway from last night, because the hockey game, hockey won, period. Canada won the game, but hockey
See the
won.
ratings?
10 million people watched it. It was outstanding.
What?
I got Gabe gave me this hat when we did our first Super Bowl together out in LA. He bought me this.
Nice
I wore the Canada hat for you guys. Listen, tip your hat. That was great, Cam. It was awesome. I loved it. How excited were you? I saw you guys on TV.
Well, we were so excited. We didn't know who scored the goal. We thought it was Crosby and it was McDavid. And before that, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm looking at the TV, the sound's down, and people are like, "You guys are idiots." Yeah, well, we're also flipping out. We got tons of money on the game, and we don't know. We're just going nuts. I will say this. I'm partly to blame. I pulled like a Wetzel, like a semi-mush. I'm like, stop calling this guy McJesus. I go, McMoses. And then, McJesus scores around. I was like, I'm like, to call a guy Jesus, that's godlike. You know what I mean? So I'm like, but hey, that's a great shot. I'm just surprised. I'm looking at him going, where is the defender on him? I've never seen Connor McDavid that open before. That was really weird but hey, things happen in overtime. Guys lose their mind. People make mistakes. But guys, USA was great. Let's call it out for what it is. Canada wins these overtime games. The golden goal, the first time with Sidney Crosby, now McDavid. These games are tight. We win in overtime. USA.
How good was Bennington?
That's my point.
Bennington was tremendous.
And other people are like, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't that hard, but I know. And Gabe, I told Gabe, I go, listen, I did say I'm a little bit nervous. I did say Bennington lets in bad goals. What he did in overtime was so damn spectacular. And I got to tell you something. I look at the Edmonton Oilers situation and go, okay, obviously you don't want to throw Stu Skinner under the bus, but these guys are the favorites now. You have Connor McDavid winning a gold medal. I almost like, and Binnington's an older guy. I kind of think if he was their goalie, they would win the Stanley Cup in big games. He's won Game 7 in Boston before, and I don't know, but Stu Skinner still deserves a chance. But if they find a way not to get it done this year and there's weak goaltending, they got to figure it out. I'd rather have a veteran there. There's a lot of good teams. Dallas and Ottinger, he's a guy that has problems. And Hellebuck, you know what the thing is, too? He played great. He was fine. Like, you know what I mean? And he's a losing goalie on this. And then now this is going to maybe be in his head. The Winnipeg Jets are having a great year. And I hope this kid's all right because I'm sick and tired of watching Winnipeg go up. Winnipeg is very similar to the Leafs. They get to the playoffs. They're very, very good in the regular season, and then they can't get it done. But kudos to America and Canada. That was a great exhibition of hockey. They left it all out in the line. Everybody should be proud. That was, honest to God, that was the best. Like the NHL, like if I'm in the boardroom going, I can't believe, like 10 million? Like this is like.
Yeah, that was tremendous.
It's spellbinding, actually. Like,
how does it carry over to tomorrow? Because we were talking about it.
I don't
right?
think
like,
it
what
can.
are we looking at as bettors tomorrow? Edmonton is playing in Philly in the middle of the afternoon. They're a big favorite.
I'm praying that I'm on this like streak because I'm having a great day in college basketball too. I actually took Villanova and Marquette and Loyola, and I love Dayton. The Dayton Flyers are like one of my favorite teams since childhood, and I just like it, Loyola at home. I'm going to say this. I'm going to do some pretty crazy things that I'm looking at dogs. I think Philadelphia is live against Edmonton. Edmonton had a lot of emotion and stuff in that game. Philadelphia, Urson played pretty good for Sweden. So I'm looking at these games. It's basically a dog's breakfast for me. I'm not going to go in crazy, but okay, let's go through the games. I like Philadelphia plus 1.5, Sprinkle plus 164. Washington, I think will beat Pittsburgh. I don't want to lay $1.60. I like the Buffalo Sabres as a dog against the Rangers. This is the type of game with a young team where I think they can jump on them. And by the way, to Wetzel's point and credit, some of the worst players in this tournament played for the New York Rangers. Zibanejad was horrible, and Trocheck was horrible. Buffalo. Florida and Seattle don't really have an opinion. Nashville as a dog against Colorado with Nathan McKinnon. I'm basically looking at teams who, are home dogs and are getting plus money, Dave. That's the way I'm going to play it tomorrow. A lot of dogs, and I'm taking Philadelphia over Edmonton, which should be insane, but that's the way I'm going to roll. I'm going to take these teams and guys who didn't play in the tournament. That's it.
I still don't understand, Cam, why they didn't have the championship game Wednesday. Give these guys at least 2 days off.
I agree.
One day off is
or end it on a weekend. We can party more. Just different moving forward.
Top of the hour.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. He's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Wrapping up shop. Another fine week of programming here. Thanks to Cam Stewart, who again takes over along with Gabe Morency, top of the hour. Still, no doubt, celebrating yesterday's win. Speaking of celebrating wins, Bucks beat the Wizards 104-101. Didn't cover the original number, but when we put it on the air, we said grab the Bucks. They were getting money because since they were losing by 6 at halftime, so that's a winner. Final from Orlando. Orlando 104, Memphis 105. Grizzlies
was it a
come
buzzer
back
beater?
and win. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Wow.
I don't know.
My.
We were talking to Cam, and I just looked at for the scores, and let me see if it was. Let's see, fourth quarter.
Wow.
Usually I do this to put the dagger in my back whenever I lose. No.
Yeah, let's celebrate the win.
Oh, the dude missed a free throw. Oh, he missed 2 free. Oh, that was for Memphis. So Memphis is at the line up 105-104. This never heard of the dude. Santi Aldama. Who the fudge is that?
Okay.
Misses 2 free throws, kicked him off the team. Orlando gets the ball. And a jumper by Pablo Banchero, blocked by Jaren Jackson Jr. How about that? A little defense wins it for the Grizz. Wow. Not bad.
Okay. Nice. That's a
Not
good
bad.
that's a good little 1-2 right there.
Yeah.
Michigan State is leading 68-62, 3 minutes to go in Michigan. So Sparty, that looks good for them, not for the Black Cloud play of the night. That's when you're going to have to come back and tie that one and maybe play overtime. I asked Cam, I'll ask you, are you really are you going to be on tomorrow on In-Game Live?
Yep.
You doing the
4
show?
to 8.
Are you looking at the
Ninja.
hockey? Are you looking at the hockey for tomorrow? Because it's going to be really hard. I think the emotion of the guys that played in it is going to be one thing. The rest and maybe the chip on the shoulder of the guys that did not play in it might be a good handicapping angle. For a note, Washington's playing Pittsburgh, and Washington's Capitals are a big favorite. There's a big pregame ceremony honoring Mike Lang, who passed away, one of the longtime announcers for the Penguins.
Right.
And beat writers are all putting it out, and the local guys are putting it out to come early because they're going to pay a tribute that will bring probably a tear to a lot of hockey fans' eyes. Because other than Mike or Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby, Mike Lang was the Penguin radio and TV announcer for 46 years. Wetzel, who does that job for 46 years? That guy was the voice of my entire life, as a Penguin fan. So they're going to be stoked up tomorrow. I really thought the Capitals were the side, but man, that the ceremony thing, is that a Wetzel play? Is that in the book of Wetzel plays?
It is, but not the way you're thinking. It's the anti-celebration system. Now they could have. You play the Capitals. Yeah, they didn't necessarily pick this game. The poor guy died, during this break here. So this was the first game, but still. That's half of it. The other half is that, the team is, just not concerned about hockey. They're more concerned about this guy, his family, legacy, how close he was to the team and everything. They're just not worried about the hockey game. Then you throw in Crosby and, winning the championship. No doubt they'll probably do a little something for him, I'd imagine. So, yeah, this is a classic Washington. I'd lay the puck and a half. This has got 4-1, 5-1 written all over it. I would, maybe bet Dallas. Ottinger didn't get a chance to play. Maybe he's got something to prove. Little ticked off. Pick him at New Jersey. I would do the National. I like the what Cam said. Philadelphia against Edmonton. any of those guys, I would expect some of those guys to maybe not even dress. I mean, to think they're going to go back on the ice, it's literally 24 hours later. And those are afternoon games, Dave. That's a 1 o'clock game, Philadelphia and Edmonton.
I know.
What time did he get out of Boston last night? 1 o'clock in the morning, if they were lucky, right? So, yeah,
he's probably
look
pulling
for
a Vinny.
angles like that.
Yeah, he's probably pulling a Vinny, not sleeping. I mean, I don't know how that guy Vinny does it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Gambling at the casinos. Yeah.
Who knows what he's doing?
Yeah.
Opposite picks. What do we go? 4-3, 5-2. What do you think?
Oh, let's go 5-2. Why not 5-2? It. We did it last week. We'll do it again.
5-2.
And Alabama. Let's go. Over the 180.5 for sure. Right. Have a great weekend, folks.
Sporting event. The atmosphere before a game. I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions